Greetings! You're watching Breaking News on the Creative Society channel. This week, the people of Earth witnessed the most powerful underwater volcano eruption in decades in the Pacific Ocean.
According to Australian scientists Brian Schmidt and Richard Archelaus, the energy of its explosion was equivalent to 1,000 atomic bombs dropped in Hiroshima. The shockwaves circled the planet twice, and the echoes of the eruption were recorded even in Antarctica.
A large plume of ash from a volcano has obscured the sun, NASA astronaut Kayla Barron reported from the ISS. According to scientists at the University of Birmingham, the eruption also caused a series of the so-called atmospheric gravity waves, which were detected by satellites in space.
It is critical to use an interdisciplinary approach of the entire scientific community to study the causes of what is happening to the climate. After all, the force and power of terrifying cataclysms is increasing every day. Watch this episode. On December 4th, 2021, the Global Crisis Time for the Truth Conference presented a letter from the Prime Minister of Tonga, His Excellency, the Honorable Reverend Dr. Pohiva Tuinoteoa, that climate change is an existential threat that causes great anxiety in many parts of the world. But nowhere else in the world do people live in such constant fear and anxiety as in Tonga. We are the second most vulnerable country to natural disasters. Watch next more about the Tonga volcanic eruptions, as well as the earthquake in Indonesia from the Breaking News reporter.
Hello, this is the breaking news reporter from Indonesia. On January 15th, 2022, there was a powerful eruption of the underwater volcano Hunga-Tonga-Hunga-Ha'apai in Tonga. It was the strongest eruption in at least several decades. A powerful shockwave was visible even from space. The eruption created a column of ash, steam, and gas that rose to a height of about 20 kilometers. Much of the country was left without communications and electricity. A tsunami over a meter high was recorded in the coastal areas of the capital, the city of Nuku'alofa. Waves also rushed across the Pacific Ocean to the coasts of Japan, USA, Mexico, and South America. Some cities in Peru were flooded. Casualties have been reported. Residents of New Zealand and Sydney in Australia were forced to leave potentially dangerous places. A day earlier, a magnitude 6.6 earthquake occurred on the island of Java, Indonesia. The epicenter was located in the Strait of Zondo at the boundary of lithospheric plates. The shockwave reached the archipelago. Its destructive power was felt by the residents of the province of Banten, where about 1,000 buildings were damaged. The residents of other local islands also felt the shaking. People ran out into the streets in a panic, trying to get as far away as possible from houses, trees, and weakly reinforced structures. Fortunately, there were no casualties.
On January 13, 2022, Australia saw the highest temperature ever recorded in the history of weather observations. The abnormal heat in Western Australia has been increasing for 1 week. The temperature reached plus 50.7 degrees Celsius.
Martin Rice, the head of research for the Australian Climate Council, said extreme temperatures are already having deadly catastrophic consequences for the country, and that heat waves are a silent killer in Australia and are causing more death than any other extreme weather event.
A month earlier, Typhoon Rai, also known as Adat, hit the Philippines. Rai has become the first Category 5 super typhoon in the Philippines and has caused serious damage of $737 million. Volunteers of the Creative Society Project contacted eyewitnesses to this super typhoon.
Feliciano Alvarez. I am currently located here in Mandaue City. That's the part of Visayas here in the Philippines. The disaster happened. It was landed in Surigao. That's part of the Mindanao in December 2021. That's December 16, 2021, and then after that it went to Surigao and then went to Dinagat and Cebu by December 17, 2021, and then by December 18 to 19 it went to Palawan. So about 16, 17, 18, 3 days that devastated the northern Mindanao and Central Visayas. I am part of a group that we call Philippine Guardian. So I am helping my barangay in terms of fixing the garbage and at the same time the water and some electricity power source, which is the generator. So I am helping my community here in Mandaue. Most of the buildings were destroyed, particularly the roofs of those, small buildings and houses. But I have not witnessed any casualties, at least in my hometown. People are not really well prepared because, they do not really care about what happened at the time because they know it's just a small typhoon, but it accelerated a lot. So what happened was that the typhoon became a super typhoon. That's why people were not really prepared. The government, I think, is doing their best, but it's not really enough. So, and it will really take time for them to fix everything. And if you are not prepared, you will be devastated and you will be helpless. And you can't do anything just to wait for the disaster to subside and ask for the help of the government. You don't need to ignore the warnings because by ignoring them, and you will be put into part of the casualty if you are not well prepared. We must unite together in terms of acting that the climate change is real. So don't ignore it because you saw what happened to the Philippines. So I guess we have to be aware that the climate is real and we need to be united and be informed and at the same time talk to the other people that climate change will be here forever. So let's embrace it and be prepared about the disaster recovery, preparedness, and so that we can all survive in these times of disaster. People of the world, I am Feliciano Alvarez here in the Philippines. You need to attend the global conference on We Are People, We Are United about the global crisis on May 7. So let's support it because climate change is real and we need that. So let's unite together and be aware that the climate change will be here and let's embrace that and be prepared always.
Hi everyone, my name is Bertha. I am from Cebu, Philippines, and it was last 17th of December. We're in Cebu, in my province. We were hit by the super typhoon named Odette. I could say that this has been my first time again to experience such like very strong typhoon. So in the morning around 10 o'clock, I received a message from the Weather Bureau wherein Cebu, my town, I know not the town, the province itself, we are put into signal number 1. So signal number 1 is you know, it's just nothing. It's just we're used to rain, so it's okay. And then around 12 o'clock in the mid-afternoon, so it's been hoisted into signal number 2. And then around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, signal number 3. And I wasn't expecting that it's gonna be bad. And then around 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the evening, so another message that came, it's already an alarm message that Cebu actually has been hoisted to signal number 4. And this time they already announced that not just our province, but each and every towns in our province that will be heavily affected. And my municipality, my town, is one of the towns. We're not really worried about it because, okay, it's raining, and then we did not feel anything like the wind is strong. We just felt the rain is strong, yes, but there's no wind. So we were just really complacent, and we didn't believe what the Weather Bureau was sending messages to us. And I would say the first time that I felt a very strong power, such kind of power that I'm already in the age that I shouldn't be scared that much, but I was really scared, truly scared, because I can really feel the strength of the wind, and how, what it does was the direction is like, let's say it's going from the eastern side, and then it's just changing direction. The roof is like opening, and then we started to hear like something was falling, but we couldn't see a thing because everything has been blacked out, and we only have a flashlight on our phone. And then we've been checking. We tried to check outside. The trees are starting to cut off in just, let's say, in a matter of 2 hours. When the typhoon started, and then we also hear that some of the sheets has been removed from our neighbors, and it was really crazy. So it started from, I would say, 7 o'clock in the evening, the strong wind, and it never stopped until 3 o'clock in the morning. So it was just non-stop. It was pretty scary. All the trees around me, around our house, are like really cut off. Some of them are just, you can see that they are already broken, and then but some of them are really uprooted. So it was a disaster, complete disaster. And then when I went outside to check, completely outside from my compound, so in the highway itself, the electricity post, a lot of it has been completely fallen down. So we would expect that there won't be any electricity for a week or a month or so, and you cannot help but wonder how strong it was and how strong nature is, and there's nothing that we can do about it. So if we say we have a disaster here of 90%, I would say that they were double. So it was, I feel sorry because you can hear, you're starting to hear stories that people, a lot of people that really lost their houses, especially those houses that are small shanties, people who's living along the riverbanks, people living along the coastals. They really lost their houses. Their means of like the fishermen's, all their boats are gone, wiped off completely, and you can't help but feeling sorry for all of those people. There are some people who still have this thing, we call it jetmatic, manual water supply. So these are the people who's opening their doors. They welcome us. We can get water there to, not to drink, but to use for shower, for cooking, for washing. That's some sort like that. When it comes to health, because everyone is pretty much affected. Of course, there's no power, there's no internet, and for us, our water supply is, we have our own water supply, which is electric, but since there's no water, so pretty much everyone is like completely paralyzed. There are some people who has this refilling station for the water for drinking, they bought generators. So I would say this is the way of helping the general public. And this is a new experience for me, wherein you will have to queue up for hours. A long queue of people waiting for their water, waiting for their turn to be served. And it has been like that for 1 week. The natural disasters like that, this is the things or the natural events that's inevitable. No one can be spared from this, because when it happens, it really happens. We need to be prepared, not just for ourselves, not just for our family, but perhaps for other people as well. Because when we come unprepared, it's like that is when the disaster strikes, because that's when the people they go to the supermarket to do panic buying. That's when people start to lose of being a human, because you want to save yourself first before saving other people. So if we are prepared, then we will be in a position where we don't panic, and we can lend our help instead.
If you have witnessed a climate anomaly, send your video footage to climate@creativeSociety.com. The absolute temperature record in the history of weather observation in Uruguay was recorded on January 14, 2022. Temperatures rose to plus 44 degrees Celsius. The temperature anomalies, as well as natural disasters in Latin America and other regions, will be covered by the reporters of Breaking News coming up next.
Hello, my name is Lucas, and I'm from Cordoba, Argentina. In my country, the heat wave has been going on for more than 12 days now. Argentina has become the hottest South American country in the world these days. In Buenos Aires, the temperature reached 41.1 degrees Celsius, the second highest since measurements began in 1906. A record high temperature of 42.9 degrees Celsius was recorded in Mar del Plata on Friday, January 14th. In Cordoba, in the central part of the country, the temperature reached 42.5 degrees Celsius. On Wednesday, January 12th, the National Meteorological Service reported over 41 degrees Celsius in northern Argentina and around the city of Santiago del Estero. Such temperatures have been observed for 2 days already. The record high temperatures and the resulting power consumption caused technical failures that led to widespread power outages. Approximately more than 700,000 people in Buenos Aires spent the sweltering afternoon of Tuesday, January 11th, without power. It was restored the next day, but even on Wednesday, January 12th, some 17,000 people were still without power. There is still heat wave in some regions of Argentina, despite the rains on Saturday night, January 16th, early morning on January 17th, 18th, and 19th. The heat wave broke in Cordoba, but brought storms with strong wind gusts, hail, and rising river levels in some areas of the province, such as Villa General Belgrano, Villa Rumipal, Los Riartes, Villa del Duque, Santa Rosa de Calamuchita, and Berataran, and other localities. Mass fires are increasing in areas hit hard by drought, and above all, by a lack of potable water, something that has never happened in some sectors. We know very well that water is a valuable and essential resource for life. Who will help us? Will anyone really help and take care of such an important resource as water? What solution will they give, and what should we do now? The Parana River is the second largest river in South America, with water levels at their lowest point since 1945, according to Argentina's Naval Prefecture. In January, the waters of the river receded more than half a meter on the banks of the city of Santa Fe. The river's low current also makes it difficult to navigate large export ships carrying soybeans and corn grown in Argentina. Drought and fires that broke out this summer have forced the government to declare a one-year state of emergency across the country, according to a decree published in Argentina's official gazette. Thank you.
Hello, this is the breaking news reporter from Brazil. From January the 7th to the 11th, 2022, torrential rains intensified in southeastern Brazil, leading to widespread flooding and landslides. The state of Minas Gerais was severely affected. Unfortunately, people were killed by the natural force. Due to the flooding, 145 municipalities were in a state of emergency. More than 28,000 residents were forced to leave their homes. In some areas, more than 200 millimeters of rain fell in less than a day, which is almost a month's worth of rainfall. Floods of water destroyed houses, outbuildings, and washed out roads. Dozens of landslides occurred in mountainous areas, deteriorated soil. In the town of Ouro Preto, a landslide swept away a building in a matter of minutes. Fortunately, there were no injured. And in the city of Juatuba, the river overflowed the banks and flooded entire residential neighborhoods.
Flooding in Montevideo, the capital of Uruguay. In some areas, about 100 millimeters of rain fell in a few hours, more than the monthly norm, and in the Carrasco area, a 2-month normal was recorded. Local rivers overflowed their banks and spilled into the streets, taking parked cars and trash cans with them. Damage to some homes, fallen trees and traffic house were also reported. Hundreds of residents were left without power and drinking water. An evacuation of the population was carried out. During the night of January 18, the capital of Madagascar, Antananarivo, received more than 100 millimeters of rain, causing widespread flooding. There are fatalities. About 500 people were left homeless. Most of the victims were trapped by landslides or collapsed houses. On January 17, 2 earthquakes struck in western Afghanistan, in the Cadiz region of Badghis province, magnitude 5.3 and magnitude 4.9. Earthquakes were also felt in the Afghan provinces of Herat and Farah, in Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. Unfortunately, dozens of people were killed and houses were turned into ruins.
On January 13, 2022, the Atlantic cyclone Elsa hit Belarus. Minsk and Mogilev regions were hit the hardest. Unfortunately, some people were injured. Wind gusts reached over 100 kilometers per hour, knocking people down. More than 1,000 trees were uprooted, power lines were damaged. The wind tore away advertising banners and roofs, destroyed bus stations, structures and fences. On January 15th, a similar phenomenon was observed in Stavropol, Russian Federation. The hurricane wind left more than 35,000 residents of the region without electricity. Wind gusts reached 108 kilometers per hour. Watch next about heavy snowfalls in Sakhalin, Japan, the United States, Israel and Turkey.
Hello, this is the breaking news reporter. On January the 12th, 2022, a powerful snow cyclone hit the south of Sakhalin. In Yuzhno-Sakhalinsk, the amount of snowfall was 140% of the average multi-year values. Airport and ferry services were suspended and most roads were blocked. About 25,000 residents of Sakhalin were left without electricity. In the south of the Kuril Islands, hurricane force winds of 130 km per hour damaged the roofs and facades of buildings. It also caused accidents. Not only utilities, but also local residents and even the military joined together to eliminate the consequences of the snow cyclone. On the same day, heavy snowfalls hit the northern Japanese island of Hokkaido. Unfortunately, casualties have been reported. More than half a meter of snow fell within 12 hours in some areas. As a result, ground and air traffic was paralyzed. More than 100 flights were cancelled. As a resident of our planet, I cannot remain indifferent to what is happening to the climate, to the way people are suffering. We should first of all become people, be nice to each other, accept each other and help each other. And of course, help our scientists to come together to find a way out of this situation, to solve this problem. How do we survive this cyclicality? How do we cope with these climatic disasters, cataclysms, so that humankind suffers as little as possible, so that we can be saved and have a future not only for ourselves, but for our children as well, and in general on the whole planet, so that people live happily, peacefully, calmly, protected. Thank you.
High winds, snow and ice to the southeastern United States. The bad weather caused hundreds of traffic accidents and disrupted air service. Casualties have been reported. The storm left hundreds of thousands of residents without electricity. In southwest Florida, the storm was accompanied by a series of devastating tornadoes. The maximum wind speed of some of them approached 190 km per hour. Several people were injured. Dozens of buildings and structures were destroyed, and dozens of RVs were damaged. On the same day, the territory of Israel was in the zone of a cold cyclone, which was accompanied by wind and torrential rains. Floods occurred in some parts of the country. There was considerable material damage. In the city of Ashkelon, the entrances of residential buildings, basements and underground parking lots were flooded. In some areas, cars were almost completely submerged. The rains caused floodings in Netanya, Rehoboth and other cities. The Gaza Strip was also ravaged, as heavy downpours caused local rivers to overflow. On January 18 and 19, heavy snowfall and snowstorms in the Turkish province of Gaziantep paralyzed the region's transportation system. Thousands of people were blocked on the roads. There were power outages in several areas of Gaziantep. The snowfall was reportedly one of the worst in decades in this region.
Every day, in different parts of the world, more and more people find themselves in the midst of the raging natural forces. Cataclysms are striking one after another: volcanic eruptions, heavy snowfall, subnormal heat waves, and severe flooding.
Cyclical climate changes that occur due to astronomical interactions are increasingly affecting the inhabitants of the planet.
Let's say these interactions that take place, many people will come up with a question, how is that? It is clear that the galaxy rotates. Does it constantly occur or what? Well, the galaxy doesn't just rotate on its own, but there is also spiral movement of the galaxy itself in space, not only on its axis, but additionally. And so, getting into this cycle, when all this is combined, here we are exposed to this kind of process of interaction, so to say. Why is it not so dangerous at the other time? Because at other moments during 12,000 years, this impact occurs along a tangent line, meaning along a slanting line. There is no direct radiation. Here I can explain using the sun as an example. This will be very clear and illustrative. Why in the middle of summer, when it is hot and the sun is at its zenith, do our days become the hottest? Why? There is a straight ray. Or the sun begins to set, or autumn comes, for instance, or it is winter. The sun, let's say, is aside, and it turns out that the ray goes along the tangent line. There is no direct impact. For this reason, it is sort of warm, but not very warm. That's the kind of impact. Or even better, you know, this is for a totally simplified understanding. Let's imagine a bullet that flies out of a gun is flying strictly horizontally, and there is a target that is located strictly vertically, so the bullet hits it precisely. And here, naturally, if the material is not quite solid, the speed is sufficient and the hardness of the bullet is sufficient, then it breaks through this material. But it's enough to only change the angle of our target for the bullet to deflect upon contact. In other words, the target is no longer placed strictly vertically, but at an angle. So when hitting the target, the bullet will be deflected. The same is here. At 12,000 years, there is a reflection of these rays, and it doesn't cause us major harm. But when there is a direct impact, that's when the trouble begins.
We, as a consumer-format society, are not coping with the catastrophic consequences of natural forces. Habitual cataclysm prediction models are ineffective. Scientific approaches on anthropogenic climate change do not take into account all factors in an integrated manner and do not meet current challenges. As a consequence, millions of people go hungry, without livelihoods and without shelter over their heads every day.
It is time to act proactively to save all of civilization. Everyone can become a hero now. Just stop being silent and spread the information voiced at the December 4th, 2021 conference, Global Crisis, Time for the Truth.
The images of growing climatic cataclysms, millions of lost and shattered human lives are horrifying. Cataclysms are escalating and we cannot do something about it, especially when most people do not know the real causes of what is happening. The reason of global climate change on Earth and cataclysms which are increasing now on our planet is mainly derivative of the astronomical process. With a cycle of 12 and 24,000 years, this cyclic recurrence is inevitable.
When you actually go back into geologic records, ice core samples, volcanic data, you find that not only has this cyclicity occurred very recently, but quite frequently and exactly lining up with that great year cycle, the cycle of the yugas, if you will, the 24 to 26,000 range of our crossing of a very interesting region of space.
It is clear that the truth is really scary, but when we know that there is a way out, and it is being motivating and sobering for us, all of this information is being brought up just for the single purpose that there still is a chance. This is why this is our job to act now, and our objective is not to scare each other, but to make sure to care for people, for every single person to understand that they need to act now. And the real heroism here is to accept the truth as it is today, and without distortion to carry it forward honestly and openly.
We are in a crisis, and it's only truth that's going to get us out of this. So the fact that the truth will lead us naturally to a creative society is the path out of this, and I'm honored to be a part of it. If you're going to protect yourself and your loved ones, you need to have as accurate as possible a picture of what's really going on around you.
Solutions are not technical. They have to happen at a deeper level of thinking, the level of changing the way we think. But they have to happen as well at the level of mobilizing all people. We need to mobilize all capacities, all knowledge, all humanity, because, as you said, I mean, in your global survey, you find a lot of commonalities among people in different countries, different situations, different status, etc. What do they want? What do we want? A better world for our children. Exactly that.
Eight Foundations of the Creative Society is a result of many years of international social survey. It is a universal request for the kind of world where we all want to live in.
Humanity still has a chance to pass the climate test with dignity and build a world in which everyone is safe, fed, and truly happy. We need to unite all human potential and create conditions so that science can solve the climate crisis.
Millions of people support the creative society, and they are the ones who already now care about our common future, who have taken responsibility for the life of all humankind.
Join the Creative Society project at creativesociety.com. Thank you for being with us today, and see you soon on the Creative Society channel.